Alright guys, Scrappy again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. Vegas Legion have sent shockwaves through the CDL over the last couple of days with big victories in back-to-back series against top 4 teams. Big questions though being raised last night. How exactly are they pulling this off? Dashy, Simp and now even Priestahh, they get into the discussion on the seemingly internet advantage that Vegas are currently exploiting to gain loads of CDL points. Priestahh, of course, is on the losing end of this with Ravens potentially going to be out of World Championship qualification if what Vegas are currently doing continues for too much longer. Very much into your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I greatly appreciate it. Big thanks to Underdog Fantasy as well for supporting today's content. If you guys are looking to get involved in daily fantasy sports across all sorts of sports and esports, this is the place to be. Not just the Call of Duty stuff, of course, today, but also you can make picks across all sorts of sports. It's actually even better now with the NBA Finals going on because they've opened up to pick 8. So not just 5 picks, which is usually the maximum. It's actually all the way up to 8 picks. So if you get them all right, you get 325 extra money. But even if you get 1 or 2 wrong, you can still get paid out. 3 games in the CDL this evening that are not expected to be massively interesting. So if you guys are looking to spice things up and in any of these eligible locations, use code RAB for your special pick and deposit bonus offer up to $250 in bonus cash. So let's just dive straight into the video here because we had one more series that we didn't get to talk about yesterday. Miami played Los Angeles Gorillas. And again, Gorillas, they make it close, but they just lose. This is what they do. This is what they're great at, apparently, against all the teams they need to beat. Like, Gorillas can be competitive. They've actually won plenty of series this year, but it's just in situations like this, they always find a way to lose. Vikul had a mega map 1 here, by the way. Of course, he was away last weekend. Comes back into the team, has a stinking start to game 1 in the first series back he played just yesterday. This, of course, was, what, day before that. This was the second game that they're playing of the weekend, and they played 3 games because they played today as well. But of course, they've started out the weekend the way that they needed to, the Miami Heretics, and Vikul had a big turnaround after that poor start to the game 1 on Friday, and they came out swinging in this one. They win the game 1. They had a 5-2 lead game 2 here on the Karachi. Gorillas brought it back, but in the end, it's often like weird how this happens, isn't it? That a team will bring a big comeback, and then the other team will still find a way to win the round 11 somehow. That's what happens here. And then Gorillas lost a 3-2 in the control. A control, again, they shouldn't have lost. Like, they'll feel like all of these maps were definitely winnable. This is a 2-2. Miami are on the attack here. Again, it's a classic, round 5 offense cheese. And Lucky gets this kill. 2 versus 3. Lucky goes down. MettalZ gets 1. Charles, I mean, to be fair, incredible play here for MettalZ. He probably knows he has to chow. Like, he needs to take one of the fights here, but DiamondCon needs to get in. DiamondCon gets gunned to bed, and then MettalZ just stays down and gets the cap just before he gets stunned. So a clean 3-0 in the end for Heretics. They were talking all sorts of trash on Los Angeles Gorillas as a result, and genuinely that puts Miami in a very good position here to qualify for the World Championship. Yes, some of these games might not always be the most entertaining, but they are massively important in the grand scheme of the season. So Miami now move to 150 points. We'll have a look at that in a second. Gorillas, well, it's been rough for them. I just can't see them making it at this point. They still technically could. And with Assault earlier in the season, they did put together a couple of good runs all the way to top 6. I'm not sure if they're going to be able to replicate that at Major 4. And if they can't, I think it's probably chalked, especially when Ravens, I think, are better than Gorillas. Yes, they lost to them the other day, which was, yeah, they shouldn't have lost that series. Ravens getting reversed up there was bad. I still think Ravens are the better team. And then Vegas, well, the way they're playing right now, who are they going to lose to? Maybe a lad to FaZe, maybe nobody. These were the overall numbers for the series, but really the important part is that all the maps were close, but Miami won every single one of those maps. So bad news for the Gorillas, good news for Miami Heretics and some other teams that are in that kind of ballpark fighting with Gorillas for that World Championship spot. Now it does feel like Miami are going to make it, at least that's my opinion. But of course, nothing is locked in at this point. Even technically, Boston Breach could still make it, but obviously that is not going to be happening. Now, today is a Black Ops 6 reveal. I'm thinking it's going to be campaign-related stuff. We'll see. But I think it's the first time that we're going to get to see real action around Black Ops 6. The game is apparently very polished. It's been prepared for a long time now, and, well, it's coming soon. So looking forward to seeing what they're going to cook up on this one today. This is pretty funny from Priestahh as well. They dropped a new map into Valorant, which is kind of like Vertigo. It's not really designed like Vertigo from CS, but it's called aBeZy, and there's all sorts of spots you can fall off the map. So I'm sure Clay's going to be all over that one. But let's talk about some of this server stuff again, right? Because yesterday, Sib and Dashy were having the big back and forth. There was lots of talk about it on the flank as well, like, you know, should the players lock in a bit more and, you know, focus on their mistakes? Because, sure, in these series, there may have been some internet cheese, but it's not like OpTic and New York, respectively, played phenomenal COD. They didn't play their best COD. If they had done, they'd probably still win, even with this potential advantage. We don't really know. The Vegas guys say there's nothing to it, because they say, I think Gia might have said he's in Massachusetts, I'm not exactly sure, but he's in that kind of ballpark. You've basically East Coast, I'm pretty sure anyway. You've got Nero in Ohio, you've got, I think, Johnny in New Jersey, and then Attaches in Dallas. So they're playing on a Virginia server with a few East Coast players, and they're playing against a Texas team. So, you know, geographically, I'm not going to look at Google Maps again. I did that the other day, but you've got to think it should potentially convey some advantage to the guys that are on the East Coast. But at the same time, apparently the ping numbers the league looks at are basically the same. So the league is looking at it, the teams are looking at it, at least Vegas are looking at it, saying, well, we're on 30 ping, they're on 30 ping, so what should it matter? And maybe that's a fair enough argument. But the feeling is from the Texas players that there's got to be something in it. So Attach is kind of clapping back a little bit here, because he's saying, yeah, that Dallas apartment internet is great, right? Just because he's in Dallas and the rest of the guys are over there. So he's like, well, if you're getting fried by me on the Virginia server, then that ain't a good look for you type thing. I guess is what he's trying to get at here a little bit. And Dash is like, internet? What do you mean internet? I was just talking about this track. So, yeah, pretty funny. And as Simp says, that boy Dylan Price getting slices by any means necessary. So, yes, Simp and Dashy are certainly of the opinion that Vegas aren't going to be nowhere near this good on LAN. Therefore, there were some discussions. This guy comes into the fray and says, always excuses. They play at a facility with the best fiber you can get, still seem to whine about a server when Gio is on cable dropping 1.4s from his bedroom. So this is a pretty interesting back and forth here. Even Crim gets involved. So Sib says both have Blackstar now. So I think Blackstar is some sort of like internet provider, maybe a router, I'm not really sure, but something that connects their internet line together. And basically Sib said that's terrible. And also when all the players are on the same line. So I think his point is that we use this Blackstar stuff, as do OpTic maybe. So his point is that actually the internet is nowhere near as good as you think it is, and because we're on the same line, whereas the Vegas guys are on 4 different lines that are not in the same geographical location, they gain some disadvantage, the teams, by that being the case. And obviously what he does say that's fair enough is like, look, OpTic won Major 3 in Vegas, were not performing like that on LAN, were they? So, as he says, not from the bedroom, by the way. So, you know, Clay comes in and says, talk to him about Blackstar, because I imagine that the OpTic compound, or the OpTic headquarters, that was used by the Dallas guys when it was the Envy headquarters back in MW19, stuff like that, as Clay says and Crim says, customer support's incredible, but the internet was god-awful. So he says, fantastic people, terrible internet might be the motto there. So, you know, the argument is that really Vegas can say what they want about, oh, there's an advantage, but the guys are saying, actually, our internet isn't as good as you think it is, at least the guys that are based out of Dallas. And as Sib says, Fulton understand what we're dealing with here. And then Clay chimes in, brother, we've been playing a majority of important matches online since COVID. COD's netcode is terrible. If people don't realize how cheesy it is by now, I don't know what to tell you, right? So, and this is the thing, online COD, you've always got to take it with a big grain of salt. But the opinion here clearly is from Clay that, yeah, he doesn't mention Vegas specifically, but of course he gets into a discussion around this Vegas team, kind of implying that, yeah, there's probably something going on here more than meets the eye. And Karma said the same thing, right? When OpTic lost, Karma was like, yeah, I don't think that was fully representative of the situation at hand. And obviously for Clay, it's got to be kind of frustrating in the sense that maybe Vegas are getting this advantage, whatever they're getting. Like, they're playing the Dallas teams, they're playing this Virginia server, seems to be helping them with the current roster they've got. Maybe it's placebo, I don't know. I am inclined to believe that, as I said yesterday, there's less to this than the pros will have you believe that there is. Like, I genuinely think that Vegas are playing like a very solid team. Would I pick them to beat New York or OpTic on LAN? You know, probably not. But I think that it often is overblown by some of the pros, in my humble opinion. But obviously, Vegas streaking together all these points in massive series is really big for them and really bad news for anyone competing with them for World Championship qualification. This is how it looks, by the way, for Vegas. They're 2-1 right now. They lost to Toronto. They beat OpTic. They beat New York, then they play Surge. That's a tough series, but if they can beat those other two teams, why can't they beat Surge? They then play Gorillas, absolutely beatable. Thieves are beatable. Rocker are beatable. I mean, it's looking pretty damn good for Vegas, right? And on the contrary, I wanted to look at Thieves because they should have won that Game 5 yesterday against Ravens. They didn't. Next week, they play Toronto, FaZe, then Legion, then New York. So, arguably, the 4 best teams of the game. You know, okay, no OpTic, you know what I mean, though, right? Like, if Vegas are going to continue playing as well as they have done, then that is a really scary run, is it not, for Thieves? So, wow. I mean, we're going to have a look at the standings right about now. This is where Thieves are, 145. And 145 looks kind of good. But imagine they go 0-4 from now to the end of the stage. 145 ain't good enough. Like, you're going to need at least top 8, if not top 6 of the major at that point, if you want to make it to the World Championship. So, like, New York is still in no man's land. Toronto, OpTic, and FaZe are right up there at the top of the timesheets. And then you've got Surge, who are at 160, like, they're for sure going to make it. Miami, I think, are very, very likely to make it. Unless Miami literally don't win a series from now to the end of the season, they're probably going to make it, and I think Miami should. Thieves, though, after yesterday, I was still of the mindset, oh, you know, Thieves will be alright. But having looked at their schedule, like, you know, it ain't guaranteed at all that Thieves come out to make the World Championship. Then there's a bit of a gap. You've got to remember, top 8 of the major gets you 15 points. So these 15-point gaps are quite critical, and obviously the tiebreakers are critical as well. Boston, let's forget about them. Gorillas at 120. They still could make it, but it's a very tall ask at that point. Minnesota, if they keep this team, like I said it for a couple of weeks now, they ain't making it, and I still stand by that opinion. The thing is for them is they also lose a lot of the head-to-head tiebreakers, so it almost seems to me, and obviously anything can change, it's so tight that anything can change, but it might end up being between Thieves, Ravens, and kind of Vegas in terms of who qualifies for the World Championship. Maybe 2 of those make it, 1 of those doesn't, and if Vegas are continuing on the trajectory they currently have, they're probably making it. So, you know, that's why Clace's probably thinking, damn, this online cheese, you know, it's for the birds type thing, right? And, well, looking forward to getting to LAN. Big shame, of course, for Clay and for Ravens that they weren't able to do it in front of a home crowd in Carolina, but unfortunately, Ravens are a terrible organization, unfortunately, so they bottled the event, as we have known now for years. Just before we get on to today's games, did see a bit of a back and forth here between Dashy and Octane, because the AR players are continuing to complain about the strength of the rival. I don't really blame them, the rival's good, but so is the MCW, right? Did we not notice some of these kills the MCW is getting lately? So, sure, Kyler was frying with the rival yesterday, and Dashy and Octane are saying maybe it's time to get the AR council together again. We're going to make a decision on this, get rid of the barrel, but I'm not necessarily sure that is going to be flying, especially given that many would say, actually, given the headshot multiplier, the AR is rather good. These then are the 3 games to close out the weekend. FaZe Gorillas. So it doesn't get any easier for the Los Angeles Gorillas. To be fair, Gorillas beat FaZe way back during, what was it, Major 2 qualifiers when Assault was still there, but that hasn't happened now for some time, and I don't really expect that to occur again. FaZe haven't been looking absolutely dominant so far this online split, but I feel like they'll be easily good enough to get the job done here. Miami-Toronto could prove interesting, I think. Toronto, I would say, are obviously the favourites, but I feel like Toronto in 4 or 5 is a reasonable prediction here. I can see this series potentially going the distance. And then Minnesota OpTic. The way that Minnesota lost the other day was just bad, and OpTic will look to get revenge on that Vegas series last weekend and slam these guys. So, you know, I'll obviously take the favourites in these series, but I think a couple of them could be interesting. And of course, if they go as expected, then it still paints a picture in terms of what the World Championship should be looking like in terms of qualification. But very much interested your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Thanks to Underdog Fantasy. Take care, and I'll see you next time.
Yo, Ernie, I don't do well with that disrespect, Ernie. Let's lock that in out of you. I don't do well with that disrespect. You my boy, Ernie. You is.
Been saying this shit all day.
L pick, L pick, Ernie. L pick, man. I'm Jordan.
I swear to God, that's Mike Tyson, bro.
All right, I am.
That's why I'm so feared. That's why they feared me when I was I want to annihilate. That's all I was doing.
Bro, who was that? That was good. That was fucking good, actually.
Was a soundboard.
No, that was a soundboard.
Soundboard?
The soundboard.
Oh,
I thought it was somebody in here, bro.
Crazy, man.